October 12, 2014, from Sun Life Stadium in Miami, Florida, was the Green Bay Packers at the Miami Dolphins. And in this game, the Packers got on the board first as Aaron Rodgers hit Jordy Nelson for a 9-yard touchdown pass to make it 7-0 Packers over the Dolphins. The Dolphins would get on the scoreboard with a 48-yard field goal from Caleb Sturgis to make it 7-3 in the first, and that would be it for the first quarter. Then in the second quarter, the only scoring we saw was a 43-yard field goal from Mason Crosby to put the Packers up by 7 with the score 10-3, as that was the score going into the locker rooms at halftime as the Packers led the Dolphins. So in the third quarter, the Dolphins came out with the ball and they scored on their first drive as they went 80 yards in 5 plays in about 3 minutes, capped off by an 11-yard touchdown pass from Ryan Tannehill to Jarvis Landry to tie this game up at 10 apiece. So it was 10-10 Packers-Dolphins. And then 7 minutes later, Aaron Rodgers hits Randall Cobb for the 5-yard touchdown pass to make it 17-10 as the Packers take back the lead in the third. That would be it for the third quarter. And then in the fourth, we saw plenty of scoring as the Dolphins ended up scoring on a 5-yard touchdown run by Lamar to tie this game up at 17 apiece. And then about 4 minutes later, Mike Wallace caught a 5-yard touchdown pass from Ryan Tannehill to give the Dolphins the lead at 24-17 over the Packers. But the Packers were coming right back. 5 minutes later, Mason Crosby kicked a 30-yarder to make it a 4-point game with the score now 24-20, Dolphins over the Packers. And then at the very end of the game, with just seconds on the clock, Aaron Rodgers hits Andrew Quarless for a 4-yard touchdown as the Packers win by a field goal with the score 27-3 with the late touchdown as Aaron Rodgers brings the Packers from behind in Miami on the road. And the Packers now improve on the season to 4-2, and the Dolphins are now 2-3 with the final score 27-24 Green Bay over Miami. And in this game, Aaron Rodgers was 24 for 42 with 264 passing yards and 3 touchdowns. He also rushed for 34 yards off of 7 carries. Ryan Tannehill was 20 for 31 with 2 touchdowns and 2 interceptions, and he threw for 244 passing yards. The game's leading rusher was Lamar, who had 53 yards off of 14 carries, one of which was for a touchdown. And Tannehill had only 4 yards less than Miller, as he had 49 yards off of 3 carries. So Tannehill nearly was the game's leading rusher, and he actually rushed for more yards than any of the Packers, as the leading rusher for Green Bay was Eddie Lacy with 40 yards off of 14 carries. And as I said, Rodgers rushed for 34 yards off of 7 carries. So quite the game. And the leading receiver was Jordy Nelson with 107 yards off of 9 receptions, one of which was for a touchdown. And on defense, Jones had 9 tackles, as did Missy. That was for Miami. They were the game's leading tacklers. The Dolphins had 3 sacks, as both Vernon and Wake had 1.5 sacks each. Vernon had 7 tackles, and Wake had 3 tackles. And for the Packers, they had 1 sack, that was Neal. But they had 2 interceptions, as Hayward and Shields both got picks. So the Green Bay Packers come from behind in a back-and-forth game, as this was definitely one to watch. And the final score is 27-24, Green Bay over Miami.